Right, mate, let's get to the football, because it was a really interesting weekend of football, the way that the fixtures turned out. We're going to start with the Sunday game, the biggest game probably of the weekend. Arsenal hosting Manchester City, an Arsenal team that had lost 1-0 to Liverpool earlier in the season, where they played particularly well. But, you know, there's a bit of criticism about maybe is Mikel Arteta going for things. Is he prepared to let his team take the risk to get the reward? Yesterday's game, Rob, and we are doing the podcast today because obviously we weren't able to fit it in yesterday. So apologies for any other fans who are looking for it on the Sunday. This is Monday when we're doing it. But in reflection, Rob, will Mikel Arteta have regrets again?
It's a really difficult one. And this is really the crux of it all right now, isn't it? His team selections, and the amount that he's prepared to risk to go and win a game. Now, just to remind people, the midfield, I just think there was two areas here, Rob. There was a midfield three. There was Declan Rice, it was Martin Zubimendi, and it was Mikel Moreno, which are kind of similar. It's a stronger, more powerful midfield. So he went with that when he could have played Eze as a number 10. He also could have played Eze on the left wing, and that was the other key decision. He went with Leandro Trossard, who's kind of a reliable, tried and tested. He could have had Eze out there. Obviously, he could have had Martinelli that came into the game. So those are the decisions. And I suppose we're hitting on the big overriding question straight away, Rob.
Yeah.
Because one, the changes were made. You know, we don't need to go over. The first half was not great from Arsenal. I thought they lacked any cohesion. They lacked any creativity. It was stodgy, the passing. They couldn't play through City. They didn't ask them enough questions. They get caught on a counter-attack. They're 1-0 down. And then the manager is forced into, or it's easier to make the decisions then, Rob, to make the attacking substitutions. And it looked a lot better. The question is, and I've not answered just yet, but I want to get your take on it first. You know, should he have gone with something more adventurous at the start of the game, or do you understand I don't know, the risk element and not wanting to really have a bad start of the season with a heavy loss if you went for it too much?
It's a good question. I'm going to chuck back with either a question to you or play slight devil's advocate. When the teams were named, Rob, and we were talking before back, I think I'm right in saying you said that's a powerful midfield for Arsenal. Will Manchester City be able to cope with it? Yeah. So in that degree, there was, before the game or when the team was named, you can understand why he went with that three. Now, if that game stays at 0-0, he makes a sub and you get the 1-0 win. Yeah, I think you look at that and go, that's good management within the game. I kind of understood why he did it. And I understand why people say, well, as it came on, different time of the game, different sort of situation. I kind of get it, Rob. What I would say is, my question would be, and it's not necessarily what I would do, it's what he would do. Do you think he would take that back? I found the day, my overriding, I was thinking about it this morning before we got on, is I thought this game would give me a better indication of Arsenal. And it hasn't. It's left me in exactly the same place. I'm still unsure about Arsenal. That's why I've said I think Liverpool will win the title. There's still an unsurety about Arsenal in the big games, Robin. And I'll just chuck another slight angle in, which was often been pushed at Pep. And I know we in football kind of like to put people in boxes or put things in situations. Is there I'm hearing some senses like, is Mikel Arteta overthinking things in these big games rather than letting his team play as we know Arsenal can play?
I just quite possibly Martin Odegaard is the difference here, right? Martin Odegaard, the captain of the club, is a different sort of midfield player. When I talk about the power, Rob, then if it's going to be a power game, make it a power game. Be all over City when they have possession, high press, high energy, intensity, get the fans involved. But they didn't play a power game with power midfield players. They didn't. It was a technical game, and then it was like, there's not enough technicality in there.
No creativity, was it?
If they would have gone with a real strong, aggressive front foot, which I expected, then it might have been different, but they didn't. So if they're not going to do that, then you don't play three players in there that are very similar and they can offer the power and the physicality and the pressing ability.
So the question is, Rob, did they want to play that power game, but just couldn't get at it?
Well,
because we saw that Arsenal that's passing square inside.
Yeah, it's no good, is it?
Not really going there, and not that City want to do a mid-block, I think people call him, but, sitting in there and just being numbers behind the ball. But City were doing it reasonably comfortably.
Yeah. Well, they were. Yeah, and City aren't brilliant without the ball. Bernardo Silva, Phil Foden, Doku, the others, they don't really want to be, tracking and making them run. And I think our comments at halftime was like, you've got to make City work more than that. It was easy for them just to sit in a mid-block or a little bit higher and win the ball back. So going back to it, Rob, we're given the approach, right? Given the approach that the team came out with, which has got to be on the manager, then there should have been a more technical player in there. Now, whether it's Erebuchi Eze, which it should have been Eze, or Ethan Nwaneri that's done that, the manager still doesn't trust either one of those players in the absence of Martin Odegaard, that the technical side is going to give City a bigger problem than the physical side. And so when we look forward, Rob, about learnings, I really hope. And the second half, by the way, again, it wasn't easy in the Fan Fest to get a real, study it as much as we can study it in the studio with different angles and replays, and we can control things. It looked like it was Rice and Zubimendi with Ezra as a 10, a proper 10, not an 8 like Odegaard plays. Now I like that. I like that because you get the protection, a little bit more protection. You don't worry about Eze not doing his thing in midfield as a number 8. And 8s are meant to kind of come back and help a little bit. I really like that. So going forward, if Odegaard's out of the picture, I kind of like that setup, Rob, more, whether it's Martinelli or whatever on the side. So do you think I want to move on to other things in the game, Rob, but do you think that finally for that midfield, is he going to learn? Are we going to see that midfield again?
It's interesting you said
toughest games.
It's interesting you've posed a question. Does he trust these players? Whether it's an Ezrin and a little less muscle and physicality to go creative. My bigger question is, and I think this is like I've been trying to say for a while. And if you go back to our first call, there's something still with all these signings that still makes me think there's something missing. Does Mikel Arteta trust himself? Does he trust himself in these big games? Does he take a slightly cautious approach that going to keep his team in the game? They're not going to get blown away as they didn't at Liverpool and they didn't in this game. But that might be the difference. That might be the 5-6 points difference between them and the champions.
Yeah, and maybe because it's so early in the season, Rob, he doesn't want to. If this is later on and he's 5 points behind or 3 points behind, he might be a bit. I don't know. I think a lot of pundits out there, Rob, and when on the flight, I sort of check around what's being said and stuff, and there's a lot that's being said by our colleagues in the Sky and their reactions to it. Like, come on, you got to take risks sometimes. And I know Roy Keane. We see Roy now and again when we go to the UK, and always interested in his thoughts. And his thought was, which is gold, really. When we were at United with Sir Alex Ferguson, he's a risk taker. He took risks, and we won. And that might be the crux of this. Whether he on the other side of this in coming to this game, right? We're going to play as a midfield. We haven't got Odegaard. I want a creative type in there to be something a little different. We've talked about it many times, Rob, about the 3 players that make up a midfield 3. They've got to be a little bit different. Yeah. And I don't know whether, also side note, maybe for another show, Zubimendi and Rice. I don't know. I still don't. I'm not convinced Rice is an 8. I'm just not. It doesn't create enough, doesn't score enough. That's another. We don't want to go into that one as well now.
Maybe certain days, different opposition it is, but it's a little bit into the weeds. But I mean, it's in that little extra thinking. It's going to be interesting now on the next big game, the next one when it's Arsenal v something. What approach the manager has.
And he's got options, Rob, hasn't he? He's got more options than he's ever had before.
He's got more options than he's ever had. It's how he uses them options to get the result. Let's just quickly change to City as well, Rob, because I tipped them. I fancied them to nick the game. I just felt the way it would go. Haaland gets his goal. They sit in the mid block. It's a City kind of performance and result that isn't the way Pep wants to do things, but he was prepared to sacrifice. I thought a couple of keepers. I thought Roger was outstanding, mate. They talked about, was it 3 games in 8 days? Somebody who's just come up, for a long-term injury. I thought he was brilliant. Yeah. I thought Doku was a real threat on the other side. He's playing with confidence now. We see what the best of Doku can do and where he can get on the pitch. I thought Haaland for an hour is the threat. He runs away. We had a great breakdown did where he runs away from Gabriel, fitter. And, I know they've had a lot of games recently, so Pep had to take him off. But I thought there was some good performances. Look, Gvardiol, Rob, at the back for thing was solid next to Diaz, which is something defensively City are going to have to be better at if they're going to go close. And I thought the goalkeeper, by the way, man, Big Donna, Big Gigi, by the way, you're going to have to work hard.
It's a presence.
Get past him. He's impressive, isn't he? Comes for the corners. He's 6'6". He's commanding. It looks like any shot's going to have to be right in the corners. I mean, Martinelli's goal's a wonderful goal that it's a really clever finish over a big goalkeeper, to be fair to him. But I think there was positives for City, and prepared to dig it out another different way. They didn't get the win, but obviously go and get a point.
Unusual, mate. We've never seen Pep put a 5-4-1 deliberately across there. No. There's a couple of reasons. Afterwards in a rambled kind of press conference, he did. The 2 days extra rest. His Champions League game on a Thursday. Is very different. We don't often get that. No Europa League games. And Arsenal's was on the Tuesday. So I think he said they were very, very tired, and he blocked it up. And we very rarely, if ever, and it's not the way he wants to go. This isn't anybody out there thinking this is a new Pep idea. This is not Pep's anywhere near what he wants to do. But sometimes, and fair play to him, he realised my team are exhausted. I ain't got a ton of options on the bench. I'm going to bring all my defenders on, 5 across the back, 4 across midfield,
centre-backs. I think he had 6 centre-backs at one time.
And back on, just the spirit of the team, Rob. We City have got a ton of talent, and they've been magnificent in this Premier League. But we shouldn't underestimate the emotional kind of strength they've got. And a little Bernardo Silva's another player throwing there, Rob. He's a little dude. He don't go in I bet he never goes in the gym and does any weights and stuff. But he scurries around. He closes down. He helps out stop Arsenal's midfield from trying to play through, like we talked about earlier. They've got a ton of personality.
What else he's got, mate? Which you also, he's got fire in his belly. Considering what he's won and what he's done and where he is, he's a fiery little so-and-so.
So, no, fair play to Man City, Rob. I thought they were going to nick it. I thought, they're going to see it out, and then Eza comes on, makes that ball. Like none of the other 3 in midfield, the starters probably couldn't have made that ball. And fair play to Martinelli as well, by the way. Fair play to Martinelli. What a great finish, and for a guy that's been bombed out a little bit, and nobody's talking about him starting on the left in this game. It was other people going to play. So fair play, brilliant finish.
Just on that, just finishing up, there's a bit of news. Madueke's got a knee injury that they said could be out for a few weeks. They're looking at that one.
Well, Saka's back, I suppose, and that's another.
Informant is good, but again, injuries for Arsenal. There's another thing as well that they've got to make sure they've got Saliba back in this game, but might lose Madueke for a few.
Hi there, I'm Rebecca Lowe, studio host of NBC's coverage of the Premier League. Don't forget to hit subscribe to watch more videos all season long, and for even more Premier League content from original series to live matches, head over to Peacock.